So now let's pick up from where we left off. And yesterday we used the Discover Your Identity exercise to start generating some high-level ideas that can become the basis for your lifestyle that you can construct and businesses that you can build that complement it and support it. And today we're going to go into a little bit more tactical detail and start showing how those ideas that you're generating can start to be turned into products and services. And then we're also going to go through how to do a quick validation to see the market potential, or just to validate that there's actually transactions taking place in this space. So let me put a container on all of this stuff with lifestyle entrepreneurship. This is not about building the next Apple necessarily. This isn't about coming up with the next Google. This is about identifying a place where there's transactions taking place and looking at an industry that you're already interested in or want to learn more about, and then finding a way that you can enter it in sort of a quick, sort of the quickest go-to-market route, and then expand out from some initial product or service that you're offering into additional ways that you can make money in this space. So today, I want to go through this framework that I call the Passions to Products framework. And what I want to do is start to make this more interactive. So from yesterday's exercise, why doesn't somebody throw out, an industry, an interest, a field of knowledge, something from the identity diagram that we started out with, and we'll actually use that in real time to go through this Passions to Product framework instead of just pulling out an example from my previous experience.
Playing with puppies. Fitness?
Really?
Well, actually,
yeah.
We talked about it for like 10 minutes afterwards. I'm sure.
Okay, great. Let's do it. So Brad says playing with puppies, and maybe that's a subset of like dogs, dog care, dog services.
Yeah, so that kind of stemmed out of my conversation with Brad. Like we were talking about, remember when I brought up the doggy daycare, and then he sort of threw in that he knows people who give dog massages, sort of like high-end services for puppies belonging to well-to-do people. So
got it.
No, I'd like to do that too.
Great. Let's start there. So this whole exercise is about identifying the economy. Let's get this. Economy that has grown up around the things that you're interested in and passionate about. So in this case, we're going to go with dog care, playing with puppies. And what we want to do is start to identify both the products and the services that support this industry or this niche area of focus, this field. So let's just put up here for services. We'll call it dog care, just to be a little bit more general than playing with puppies. But so let's start to brainstorm. We're going to cover at least 5 to 8 specific ideas, in the next 30 or 40 minutes here. So products, let's start there. What products exist that have grown up that comprise this economy around dog care? And I'll start to throw out a couple. So one would be something as simple as like dog collars, dog accessories, things that dogs actually wear, right? So let's say, dog collars. What else do you know, Brad? What else do dogs wear? Let me just put out there that dogs don't like me and I don't really like dogs, so I'm just flying on the seat of my pants here.
Let's say like the things like that, like dog instruments or accessories or what have you.
So leashes, right?
Harnesses.
Shoot. No, sorry, go.
Yeah, go ahead. Throw them out.
Chew toys.
Harness, right? Chew toys.
Personalized kind of like items, like people want.
Some chips. We got some electronics sometimes.
Maybe dog sweaters, right? Clothes.
Yeah.
Sweaters and clothes. What else falls under the product sphere within dog care?
Cleaning up devices to clean up poop.
Great.
With that, that target market, I would also say it's more of a high-end market. I would also say some of the like personalized, like I love Fifi, shirts or like framed picture kind of things.
Right. So then let's say if we do one level of abstraction, product, so not specific things that dogs wear that you actually use on a dog, but something that's in the I love dogs field, right? So then you've got clothes that humans wear, maybe shirts, bumper stickers, who knows.
And more generalized for product, you have crates, you also have the barriers, potentially like installation of doggy doors.
Right, so like cribs, cages, whatever. What would you call that? That's
Infrastructure.
dog infrastructure. It's too long of a word. I'm just going to write cages. Good. Now let's move over and start to list out some of the services that reflect the space. So this goes back closer to your original idea. So what would you call that? What do you do? What do you call somebody that you hire to play with dogs? Or where do you take someone if you're going to play with puppies, to use your exact language?
There were two categories really. One was like dogs for, watching, kind of like caring for someone's dog, like dog, management.
They call it doggy daycare.
You got it. So
Yeah.
One business that was making a lot of money doing that was these guys who had like a doggy daycare that was really first class, high end, right by the airport. People drop their dogs right before they went on vacation.
Yeah.
And it was all high end, like posh for the pets. They were making a killing.
This is in Canada?
Yep, they were making a killing. Some dragons now.
So like you take it there and you drop your dog off and then you get on a plane and go somewhere.
That's right.
And it's just, right. So dog walking, doggy daycare, dog hotels, I guess. What else do we have in services?
Like, this is where it gets creative, but like rent a dog. And it wouldn't necessarily be the same dogs, but I'm serious about this. Like, there are a lot of dogs used for therapy, and like my girlfriend was looking at getting a dog, and she really, she was trying to decide if she adopted one, and we'll go through that whole process, and she just really needed one for comfort for like a month. And that's the kind of thing where if you got dogs for a pound, you can kind of fill a social need. Watch those dogs and then also like rent them out. Even as cheesy as it sounds, guys that want to bring a dog to the park to like pick up girls or whatever. For a lot of reasons, people might want to rent a dog either for modeling or anything.
So, okay, great. That's news to me. So rent a dog for emotional support, for picking up girls.
For movies. I'm looking for a speak to that.
You rent a dog to take it to a movie? Doggy dates?
If you're a film director, if you're looking for a particular type of dog that is
dog modeling.
That's been educated a certain way.
Yeah, like Lassie.
Yeah.
Lassie.
Entertainment dogs.
Yeah.
Running dogs.
Prostitutes.
Model dogs, yeah. Dog sledding, dogs with a little barrel of whiskey around their neck.
And of course, we do dog training.
Dog training, there, good.
Oh yeah, like puppy preschool.
Grooming.
There we go. So grooming. Is there really such thing as a doggy massage?
Yes.
And yoga. They have doggy yoga.
Oh wow, that sounds very LA.
Oh yeah.
Come on, dog.
Massage, yoga.
Push me there.
Sipping idea.
TRX training for dogs. So this is good. All right, so now we've got like 10, 15 sort of specific ideas. Now how do you identify whether or not there's a market that exists for any of these products or services? Well, what we do is we're going to pull up our friendly search engine, and so let's pick one of these as an example here. Who wants to take a choice? Let's start with one on the products category. Anybody have a preference? Dog collars? Okay, you got it. So let's do this exercise, and everybody with a computer that's online can do this real time. So this is validation. So now this here is meant to be a search engine results box. So somebody do a search for just the word dog collars and tell me what you see. What we want to know is the SERP, the search engine results page. How many total results are there? I'm guessing it's 9 million?
Yeah.
Or 90 million?
9.
9 million. What's the first 3 organic search results? Not the ads.
PetSmart, drfostersmith.com, and Walmart.
Okay, great. So 2 really big brands and 1 that seems to have figured out SEO pretty well. How many ads do you see? So again, here we're looking at these little boxes represent the ads, and on the top and on the right, you have the potential for up to 8 ads on the right and 3 on the top.
Yeah, it's full.
Is it?
Yeah.
Great. So then,
And there's a box in between those 2 where Google's selling on its own. Google's on.
there you go. You're way ahead of me. No, but it's good. So what we've just identified is that with just the general term dog collars, we've got, what do we got? We have 9 million search engine result pages, and we've got what I call a full slate, meaning that the maximum you can have is 3 ads on top of the organic search results and 8 along the side, and then I believe you can have either 6 or 8 Google specific results that is like through Google Store or some Google sponsored like store function. So those generally appear around here. And then, of course, all of these are bracketing the actual search results, which is the organic space here. And then you have up to 10 on each page, and then, of course, it goes across the other pages here. That's all well and good. But, and actually, dog collars is sort of specific enough where, so what does this tell you? What does this tell you? That you have a full slate of advertisers and Google's piping in their own products here as well.
There's a big market and also a fairly amount of competition.
Yeah, so without even looking into how much these people are willing to pay, what we've just identified is that for the search term dog collars, there's at least 11 companies that are willing to pay money to be right in front of you at the time that you do a search for dog collars. And what we want to notice is that there's not even what I call purchasing intent built into this term. So in other fields, you know, if we went through and did another one, you may or may not see a full slate, but the organic search results might not even be stores or like economic related. You might have Wikipedia, you might have eHow, like how to walk a dog videos, you might have YouTube of dogs doing tricks, depending on what you're searching for. And that, you know, doesn't necessarily indicate that there's a market in that exact niche. So what we want to do now is append this search result and add the word buy. So now somebody do a search for buy dog collars, again on Google. And somebody tell me what you see here.
It's quite similar to the last one.
Is it?
Yeah, just different top organic searches in Google.
What do you have on the first 3 organic search results?
Gun Dog Supply, Wayfair, and Overstock.com.
Okay, so now those are 3 separate ones than what we had just for dog collars. Now you can make an argument either way, that being Walmart or being PetSmart and being visible on the top results for just dog collars is good, but now we have people that are optimizing to be visible when you search for buy dog collars. So what we've done is now we've started to embed purchase intent into the search term. right? Purchasing intent. And then you can take this one step further and do something on the other side, such as buy dog collars online. And just for fun, let's do a search for that. And then what we've got here is just other variations. These are just sort of general, but with a little more thought, we could identify what would be the other potential variations that people would be searching for when they're looking to make a purchase in this space. You could do something like get dog collars, or purchase dog collars, or get dog collars online, or buy dog collars now. And then this is just, again, appending the initial idea that we generated, which is really just one of 15, which in itself is just one of the interests that we identified from the identity diagram yesterday. So you can grab that. So did anybody do buy dog collars online? What do you see there? May or may not be a material difference.
Yeah, there's only 2 on the paid searches.
There's only 2 ads?
On the top, but there's 8 on the right.
Got it. So it's close to a full slate. And I guess the takeaway here is if you get too specific, then you might rule out, you can sort of deduce where the equilibrium is, but if you add more appending what you're searching for around the actual item itself, if you did, buy dog collars in Vegas today, that may give you a whole different set of search results, and it's likely going to, if you put in a city name, then it's going to sort of isolate down to a retail store. So for the purpose of looking at an online business that we can build that's product focused in this space, we want to leave off things like city names, states for the initial market validation. So now let's say this. Has anybody seen heat maps before? Right? You've seen something that looks sort of like this. And if you haven't, there's things like Kissmetrics, or I think Crazy Egg, or other services that show you for a search result, where's the concentration of click activity on the search results page. And across the board, it seems to be right around the top 1 to 3 organic search results is the most highly clicked on area. Maybe the top 1 or 2 on the ads above, and 1, 2, and or 3 on the side, both a little bit less. So those 2 combined give you a pretty good amount of information for just a 1-minute searching exercise. And so where would you want to be if you are a business in the space of selling dog collars?
First organic search result.
Yeah, exactly. Or even in the top 3, really, to be honest. So now here's where things get sort of interesting. Now, say you do, we could keep it at buy dog collars or buy dog collars online. And if you pull up something like GoDaddy or Bluehost or some other domain registrar, see what is available for buydogcollarsonline.com. And here's the reasoning. Because if you've identified that there's a few million search engine results page, a full slate of advertisers, and that's for the actual search term, let's just use buy dog collars online, well then you've identified, without even knowing how much these people are spending per click, that there's an active market here. So again, without looking at this type of entrepreneurship as creating a new product category or anything, what we want to do is identify that there is transactions taking place and a lot of people already in the market. And then what we're going to do is look at how can we enter into this narrow field and dominate. So then one tactic to do that is to actually get the domain, which is basically the search term that we just validated has advertising competition, so that you know, in terms of search engine optimization, your actual domain, if I say anything wrong, Peter can totally correct me on this, but that the URL itself is probably one of the most important determinants on whether you're going to end up high on the organic search results, which of course is where we want to be, because how much does it cost you when somebody clicks there? Nothing. So did anybody do a check on, say, GoDaddy.com if buydogcollarsonline.com is available? What's that?
It's available.
It's available. So boom, there is one actionable idea right there that you could potentially go after, Brad.
Buy that and sell it to yourself.
Exactly. So, okay, so this is the front end, right? And if you were a dick, you could click through all of the ads and run up, you know, the tab for these other people in the space. But it would be good, if nothing else, to click through a couple of them, right, and see then how focused, how specifically focused on dog collars are the different companies that are advertising to be visible for this search term. This makes sense? You guys follow so far? Because something like Walmart or PetSmart, it's just a drop in the bucket compared to their overall product offering. And what we want to identify is whether there's anybody else in the space that's just in the business of selling dog collars. And so we don't necessarily have to go through and click those now, but even the names of the companies themselves would be an indication. So for example, if I was looking specifically for dog collars and I saw a URL or a company that was called Buy Dog Collars Online, well, I'd probably trend towards clicking on that one than going to Walmart, right? Or maybe not. I mean, that's what I'd do, because I know that then there's somebody that's specifically focused in that space. Walmart, of course, has the connotation of the lowest prices, so it's sort of a toss-up. But in terms of entering the market as a niche-focused online business, if you own that domain and then you have a supplier relationship specifically for dog collars, then you can enter this market that we've identified as competitive because of the full slate of ads and fairly quickly get a footing in the search results, ideally in a way that you're getting free traffic to a site that you own. So this is yeah, go ahead.
What's your opinion
And
on
Eric, can you toss me a water or something?
Yeah.
I guess a market that's really established like that versus a market that's not so established, so you've got less competition?
Say again?
I was just asking what's your thoughts on, say, penetrating a market like that where you've got 9 million results, there's 11 companies who are obviously paying to be right in front of you, versus a market where there's not that much competition and I guess there's more opportunity but it hasn't really been tested out yet?
Yeah. So for this specific type of business that I'm describing, it's ideal to have a domain that is the high dollar search term, and that will allow you to more quickly, of course there's other things involved like optimizing your site properly and getting some links from other relevant sources like dog walking blogs and other sites that are within the space, but so if I understand your question, you're saying, do you want to focus as narrowly and specifically versus broad in general?
I just mean in markets in general. Like for example, if you go into group buying, you're competing with Groupon and Living Social, like it's obviously quite established, versus a market that hasn't really been done before, if that makes sense. So you can be like one of the first ones to obviously, do you know what I mean?
Yes, I think I do. So if you're going into a place where there's not really any advertising competition, or if you're creating a new product category or a new type of service that doesn't really exist before, it's certainly a different approach to entrepreneurship, because then your strategy to get users and customers and get your name out there and get established is going to be, one, it's going to have a longer trajectory, it's going to have a longer runway, because nobody's already of the mind to be searching for it.
Yeah.
It just requires a different approach in terms of the marketing and getting the story out.
Yeah.
But for this first sort of case study of a type of business that you can go into, that is reflective of an interest you have or a field that you're sort of passionate about, it's much better to know that there's already competition taking place and that people are willing to pay to appear in front of you exactly at the time that you're doing a search for something like buy dog collars. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you do a search, what would it be? Dog massage, or let's see, Ayurvedic dog massage. There may not be any advertising for that. And say you're super passionate about starting this sort of East meets West dog massage practice. Well, your go-to-market strategy isn't really going to be having a domain like Ayurvedic dog massage. It would be good to have that one, but that alone isn't going to...
It's too niche.
It's too niche just to rely on getting visibility in search results pages for a specifically focused product category that people are already aware of and already know exists.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense? And we can talk more about a strategy to go after something like that. Like, for example, a band would be something totally new that nobody's ever heard of, and then there's just a different strategy for getting your name out there and starting to build recognition for what you do because you're coming out of nowhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now we sort of looked at the front end here, right? This is our search engine validation technique. And now if you pull up, let's say, so then there's one more thing you can do, right? If you click through and you just have a spreadsheet or you start to benchmark in your mind the average price that people are selling different types of dog collars for, and get a general idea for what these products are going for, then that's your front end, right? The actual customer-focused price that's being laid out. But then on the back end, I'll just leave this up for a second. If you pull up something like Alibaba.com, HKTDC, actually I'll write these down for you guys. So let's do back end. All right, so these are suppliers. So you've got Alibaba. Anybody not heard of Alibaba? Okay. Anybody heard of HKTDC? Oh, good. Anybody heard of Global Sources?
Are these companies that will manufacture as well?
So what these are is, so just like Amazon or eBay or even Google or any other search engine is going to show you the customer-facing presence that brands have that are selling products or services online. This is sort of the behind the curtains. These are all massive sites that, so specifically Alibaba is I believe a Chinese company, and it either is still partially owned by Yahoo or it might not be anymore. HKTDC stands for Hong Kong Trade and Development Corporation, I believe. So it's actually an arm of the Hong Kong government that promotes trade. One of Hong Kong's biggest industries is sourcing and intermediating manufacturers in China with purchasers and exporters all around the world. And Global Sources is, as the name suggests, a repository for where you can find products. Again, most stuff, or at least 50%, tends to be made in China. So take that however you want. But they have the lowest cost and generally are easiest to do export and import with. Yeah, Zefa.
2 quick questions.
Okay.
One, can you show us kind of a sample spreadsheet that you were describing before to document all the products and prices? And 2, can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on drop shipping versus just having inventory?
I can, and if I can come back to that in a moment,
okay,
and we can go into that stuff in depth as well. Remind me in just a minute. So here what we want to do is, so just as a quick recap, right? We took from the general interest you have, identified one, then we started to look at the economy of products and services that grew up around just one interest. We isolated one, dog collars. We did a search just for that. We took note of what we saw. There was a full slate of advertising competition. Then we did buy dog collars, then we did buy dog collars online and took note of how those changed and who was visible in the results. And then if you click through and get a general idea for the price that they're selling to customers and other additional aspects, such as if there's free shipping or what the guarantees are two other main criteria that affect purchasing decision. Then we look on the back end and simply do the exact same search on these product-focused, supplier-focused, essentially search engine. So for example, if you pull up Alibaba.com and do a search for dog collars, if somebody's done that, tell me what you see. There's probably going to be 10,000 or more manufacturers or suppliers that are in the business of producing dog collars and are looking for people like you or entrepreneurs who want to buy them in some quantity.
There's about 2,000 suppliers.
Okay, 2,000. Still plenty to choose from, right? And so Alibaba is sort of like the Amazon of suppliers in the sense that you have, I think, star ratings, you can see reviews, you can see Alibaba does like accreditation and certification on suppliers so you know that they're legit. And then there's ways to contact or put in a request for a quote. And really where we're going with all this is that in less than an hour, you can get a pretty good picture of the industry that's built up around the specific product, dog collars, in terms of seeing how many people are competing for the term and how much potential transaction activity is taking place online, taking note of the end price to the customer, and then looking at something like Alibaba.com or HKTDC or global sources and seeing what's the price from a wholesale or supply standpoint. And that combined gives you a general idea for the gross margin that's available in the space. Does that all make sense?
Here's a general question about the suppliers. You might have covered it. It was for a second and zoned out. But when you talk about suppliers, are you also including manufacturers? Like if I wanted to make a widget from scratch and put my own stamp on it and have like a mold or something totally new, is that what you're saying, or is it some of these that have like just a whole lot of choices and you slap your label on it kind of thing?
You actually have both.
Okay.
So somebody like PetSmart probably has their own brand, just like at CVS or something, they produce their own generic brand, but they also carry brands from companies that do dog products in general.
Okay.
So in either case, a company that is designing some type of a customized product will still be working through manufacturers that you can find on some of these sites, but they'll do a couple more iterations so that it's not an off-the-shelf product style. But I would reckon that with a little bit of searching, you could find the exact types of products that you'd see on the PetSmart website or the Walmart website right here on the wholesale supplier side search engines. And then it really is just sort of matching and seeing what's the supplier price and what's the average customer-facing price, and where's the spread that exists. Yes?
So I feel like this, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, let's say you've now established the level of supply that's available, but how would you sort of balance that or see where the differential is between like supply and demand? So hey, like, yeah, there could be a massive supply, but the demand could be down here or vice versa. So is there a way to target in on that?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And so, for example, I want to put a bookmark in this, and I'll stop the video in a second, but do you all see the progression of going from throwing out a bunch of ideas for products in the space, and we just did products, services is another story we can talk about, looking at the competition and then seeing where your potential sourcing options are? Anybody have any questions or confusion on that? This is sort of general high-level market research for product stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick